Over the years, Sonic fans have mostly been divided when it comes to Amy Rose's characterization, where a lot of times people will tell you that Sega, Sonic Team, the writers for the stories, etc., don't really understand what makes her a great character in the first place. Many point to games like Sonic Adventure, the early 2000s games, Sonic X, and even Boom as examples of how Amy should be portrayed. A bubbly, energetic girl with a feisty temper and lots of passion and love for Sonic and her friends. That's when you start to see some distaste towards her more recent portrayals in the main series, especially in Sonic Frontiers, where her energetic persona has been dialed down to fit the more melancholy tone of the game. While I'm not going to tell you that a certain way to portray her is the right way, I will be discussing my perspective on Amy's characterization. I'm also here to bring to light a different lens that we can view her through and explain why I think Amy's motivations, choices, and demeanor in Sonic Frontiers fit with one of the underlying themes that the game chooses to run with, how this relates to Amy's past and future, and what we can learn about our own journeys of self-discovery from all this. Before analysing how a particular theme of Frontiers applies to Amy, we first need to understand what that theme is and how the story chooses to illustrate it. Without further ado, let's get started.
It's too dangerous. They were reunited, right before the end.
They're together now. You take a minute. I'm gonna keep moving.
As we know, the open zone gameplay is built on the narrative premise that Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy stumble upon the deserted Starfall Islands once home to the Ancients, and must explore the surrounding areas to learn more about the inhabitants and their connection to the current returning threat of the End. From one area to the next, Sonic and each of his friends help the souls of the Ancients trapped inside the Coco to move on from the End's final invasion that occurred several thousands of years ago. The Ancients wandered their destroyed and neglected home, trying to fulfill the one thing that was supposedly going to complete their lives. They were trying to fix a thousands of years old moment in the past, and the way they were trying to do that as the Coco just led them through infinite circles, never truly getting anywhere. It's only through Sonic and his friends, their unique perspectives, and their temporary ties to cyberspace that the Ancients' souls finally stop their endless cycle and finally come to terms with themselves. They finally accept themselves and realize that who they were as the Ancients was enough. Nothing more, nothing less. If anything, what this part of Frontiers' narrative teaches us is that you need to assess the things that are holding you back from realizing your full potential. You need to come to terms with and accept your mistakes, flaws, and insecurities if you're ever going to move on and progress. You need to decide whether what you've been doing helps you get to where you want to be, and whether where you are in life right now is where you want to be. In the case of Sonic's friends, they seem to experience character arcs very reminiscent of what they went through during SA1, with Amy specifically wanting to be an independent and reliable person who can help others, but still expressing how much she loves Sonic. Her resolve to go back to these roots is truly awakened once witnessing the final passing of her respective Coco, as this lights the way back to her true self. Life and joy start to light up Amy's expression once she comes to terms with herself like this, because she begins to understand that instead of trying to suppress certain character traits, like her undeniable love for Sonic, the best thing for her to do is work on connecting these traits to find a sense of harmony within her identity. As a female, I've realized just how important it is for the portrayal of a female character that she shows how she embraces every part of herself, no matter how over the top, silly, or weird she may seem to others, and still proves how inspiring and cool she can be when in the face of doubt, uncertainty, or danger. I think this is exactly what Amy and, frankly, the other female characters in the Sonic series need. And Amy's moments in Frontiers provide the first step towards what we'll be referring to shortly as the re-evaluation of the self.
Hey, still thinking about the Coco?
Yeah, and more. I'm not sure what happened, but I know what I saw. A love that transcended time. I believe in that power. When this is over, I want to share that love with the world, even though it may take us far apart.
I know you'll do great. I want to hear all about it when you come back.
I think this cutscene is a great representation of the fact that life can be messy, unpredictable, and scary even. Things may happen that we never even thought could be a possibility, and whether for better or for worse, even a small act, event, or piece of knowledge can change the trajectory of our lives forever. We may not be able to control when or what happens all the time, but we do have the power to make choices that lead to a better future for ourselves. We don't succeed in life by being passive. It's in how we deal with these sorts of situations that brings the strength we need to overcome our challenges. We need to acknowledge that our journeys of working on ourselves, our personal identities and traits aren't a straight line. And I think this really hits home when looking through the lens of Amy's journey. In Frontiers, she's still portrayed as a compassionate and determined girl, as per usual throughout the series. But accompanying these traits this time round is a layer of melancholy and longing. Through the perseverance and compassion she shows to her respective Coco in trying to help them find their lost one true love, Amy seems as if she's chasing something she herself lost. It's almost like she's searching for a part of herself that she only realizes during this adventure has been missing for a while. In this scene where she explains to Sonic her feelings and about her plan to go travel on her own, she fully realized that who she currently is isn't the Amy she's satisfied with, let alone the Amy who's fulfilled her full potential. During the early 2000s, she let her love for Sonic stay at the forefront, with her ambitions of wanting to help people in need in her own way coming second. Then in Lost World and most notably in Forces, she let her drive for being independent and helping others overpower her passion for adventure in order to stick with Sonic. And now Amy seems torn between these two traits of hers. She hasn't been able to find balance and a sense of wholeness within her personal identity. It's just been made up of fragments of herself, not properly molded together as one. Witnessing the passing of her Coco makes her wonder whether focusing too much on one aspect of herself can potentially be self-destructive. But by saying that she's going to share love with the world, Amy makes it more clear that on her solo adventure, she'll try her best to marry together her two most defining traits. This is the process of reevaluating herself that's helped her move on to the next stage of her life, thanks to the events that happen in Frontiers. But I suppose the best way to illustrate this that I can think of is probably with the metaphor of cultivating a rose bush, representing our true selves that we wish to be. To grow a rose bush, of course, you would need to balance the quantities of sunlight, water, plant food, and fertilizer that it needs. Or in other words, the ways in which we spend our time and energy trying to be the best version of ourselves. Then once your rose bush has grown, you can start pruning it to give it good form and remove any roses that have reached the end of their life cycle. We can see each individual rose in our bush as one defining aspect of ourselves, such as our personality traits, and the whole collection of roses could even be seen as how we define our identity and purpose in life, among other similar things. Of course, not every rose in the bush will thrive if not tended to properly, making up a rose bush that may not look as beautiful as we hoped it would be. Throughout the process, we need to remove the dead roses by identifying the aspects of ourselves that aren't working for us. The roses that die quickly are perhaps the product of an imbalance between the time and energy you put into what you're doing to reach your goal, and maybe what you're currently doing isn't working for you but has led you down a path you're desperate to deviate from but struggle to. It's only through pruning that we may start to understand this perspective and turn to an even better strategy to help us truly define ourselves and our lives. Revisiting Amy's journey throughout the whole series and during Frontiers helped me come up with this rosebush metaphor. Cultivating one with the steps I outlined is a repetitive and ongoing process where progress isn't a straight line. Sure, you can have your own opinions regarding whether Amy is characterized correctly in any given Sonic media, but personally, seeing her differing portrayals across the years as one imperfect journey of constantly reevaluating herself is one of the main things that has helped me come to terms with myself and what I've been going through. Once I graduated from secondary school, or high school in other words, I was really unsure about where my life was going, and to be honest, I still am. My peers seemed to know exactly what they wanted to do, whether that be knowing what career they wanted, going on to further study at university, or even pursuing a relationship. But me? Well, I questioned myself at every turn, even after deciding to prepare and apply to study medicine at university, relentlessly trying to meet expectations and chase dreams that weren't even mine to begin with. Getting rejected by all the universities I had applied to for medicine was the first step in making me realize that my rose bush had so many dead flowers in it, ranging from my incredibly low self-esteem all the way to my devotion to trying new things that I ended up not enjoying and only continued with as a means to an end. I had finally reached a breaking point, re-evaluated myself, and invested my time and energy into what I'm truly passionate about. I applied to and got accepted to study psychology. I slowly stopped defining my worth solely based on external expectations, started accepting myself for who I am, and I started this YouTube channel with the hope that I could use my knowledge of psychology and my perspectives on the Sonic characters and their narratives to reach out to people in need, helping them unearth the diamonds from the dull rock that life can be sometimes. This is a long-term project that lights a fire in me every time I work on it. But like I said before, One's journey of reevaluating the self isn't always smooth sailing. Mine is no different. And yet, I feel so much happier with myself because of this process. I repeat it daily with other aspects of my life, and I feel like it makes me a better person. That's why I'm proud to have had Amy Rose as a fictional role model growing up, and as an all-time favourite character. She, like the other Sonic characters, are undoubtedly inspirations to us, no matter who we are and what we're going through. I can't speak for everyone's situation, but I have a strong feeling that many fans like me find comfort in Amy and the other characters. We'll still encounter hurdles and challenges along the way, but it's comforting to know that even in the midst of potentially imperfect characterizations, Amy and the rest of the Sonic cast are reevaluating themselves as they continuously cultivate their rose bushes, just like we are. Whatever you're experiencing right now in life, whether it's good or bad, hang in there. You're going to be okay in the end. That's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you didn't mind me sharing a bit of my story. I tried to experiment with the runtime length and leaned more into narrative and character depth as opposed to psychology for this video, so I admit that it is on the shorter side. But that means I'll hopefully be able to get the next video out within a week. We'll see what happens, but if everything goes to plan, I'll be posting again sooner than usual. Anyways, thanks again for sticking with me to the end. Have a good rest of your day or night. Take care, everyone.